Hi QA folks. Today let's talk about what is a user story and acceptance criteria. So let's start with user story. It's a small self-contained unit of development work designed to accomplish a specific goal within a product. In other words, it's just a regular task that should be implemented and tested. Usually user stories, aka tasks, are being created in task management systems like Jira. For example, it can look like this. As an app user, I want our app to have a send message feature so that users can send each other messages in real time and be able to read messages history with date time stamps. This is the short description of the user story itself. In some companies, some product owners or whoever is writing user stories can provide more details, but usually it doesn't contain a lot of details. But it really depends on the company approaches and product owner, how willing that person to provide detailed requirements. But yeah, it should give you the idea what it looks like. Now, acceptance criteria. Sometimes it's used, basically saying good practice is to use acceptance criteria, to write acceptance criteria, but a lot of companies and projects just skip them and you will just have brief description of the functionality. So what is acceptance criteria? In agile development model, acceptance criteria refer to a set of predefined requirements that must be met to mark a user story completed. Acceptance criteria are also sometimes called the definition of done. And usually acceptance criteria should follow some approach, should have some qualities such as that acceptance criteria should be testable, acceptance criteria should be clear and concise, everyone in the team must understand your acceptance criteria. Again, they're all interconnected. In order to understand, it should be clear and concise and so on. And acceptance criteria should provide user perspective. Now, a user story on its own, as in my example, it was a short one. On its own, leaves a lot of room for interpretation. Acceptance criteria clarifies the expected outcome of a user story in a concrete manner. It also gives developers and QA a clear-cut way to determine whether a story is done, or actually when it can be considered as done. What exactly should be implemented, let's say. And usually it's the product owner who is responsible for writing acceptance criteria because he is the person who is defining the functionality of the product. And but in many companies, product owners are, lazy to write acceptance criteria by themselves. So they ask QA to do that, but in reality, they should facilitate the discussion about it, and it's highly recommended to make writing acceptance criteria a group activity that includes both dev and QA representatives. And honestly speaking, it's not QA responsibility to write acceptance criteria. It should be a team effort in order to help dev and QA to clarify requirements, to understand what exactly should be implemented. But it should come from product owner. It's his responsibility and his goal to give end users what they want in terms of this feature. By product owner, or also if you have like a business analyst, then it should be written by BAs. Now, next question: when should user story acceptance criteria be written? Usually during backlog grooming, again by product owners, because not dev OK usually is not part of backlog grooming. specifically for product owner to define priorities and in which order tasks to implement. So usually during backlog grooming meeting or sprint planning meeting. In most cases it will be sprint planning, at least in most companies that I worked. Now, what format to use? You can write user story transcript area as a checklist or bulleted list or in any other format that you would like. It's extremely straightforward. You simply work as team to define a list of pass-fail statements that the functionality must meet in order to be marked complete. This is an example of some trace. This is the user story itself that we've seen previously. And in the same user story, as part of the user story, below after the brief user story description, inside this user story, you will write acceptance criteria header and put your acceptance criteria. For example, for this functionality, it can be something like for send messages feature, first acceptance criteria on profile screen, there should be send message button that leads to messages screen. Second acceptance criteria, messages screen should display a list of all already sent messages in the top section, and on the bottom of the screen should have input for text and send button. The third acceptance criteria might be, and again, just an example, it's not like I wanted to list all of the acceptance criteria for this specific feature, just to give you a brief idea. So the third one is in the up on the messages screen, each message should display name of a sender and timestamp in a specific format, month, day, year, hours, minutes, seconds. And fourth is when a new message is sent, the recipient should receive push notification, new message from and sender name. So it's just examples. So it should give you overall, and the idea is that basically acceptance criteria helps you to clarify requirements to get really specific bulleted items, what exactly should be implemented, and it usually helps a lot not to forget any features inside this user story. If it, for example, if it should work only for a specific set of users, if you have admin users, regular customers, brand representatives, or whatever, you can also write as part of some criteria that this feature should work only for regular accounts but not for admins or whatever. So it should give you brief understanding of what it is. Again, in different companies it looks differently, but that's overall the idea behind acceptance criteria and user stories. I hope it helps. That's it for this video. See you in the next one.